Good day everyone, I'm Santos from 4th year Pang, and I'm here to present to you a right triangle trigonometry. A right triangle is defined as having one angle precisely equal to 90 degrees. H is the hypotenuse, is always opposite in a right angle and relative to angle x. O is the opposite and A is the adjacent. Pythagorean theorem. H squared is equals to A squared plus O squared. I have here a 6 trigonometric function. The first one is the sine x equals to opposite over the hypotenuse. The second is the cosecant x equals to hypotenuse over the opposite. The third is the cos A H adjacent over the hypotenuse. The next is secant x equals to hypotenuse over adjacent. The next one is the tangent x equals to opposite over the adjacent. And the cotangent is equals to adjacent over the opposite. And that's the 6th trigonometric. And I have here an example. In problem 1, in the right triangle ABC, triangle A, B, C, A is equals to 1, B is equals to 10, and C is not given in the question. Now, we need to use the Pythagorean theorem. C squared is equals to A squared plus B squared. A squared is equals to 1 squared plus the B squared is equals to 3. 1 plus 9 is equals to 10. C squared. The C cancel. C is equals to square root of 10. Now, we need to determine the 6 trigonometric function. The first one is the sine. The sine is equals to opposite over hypotenuse. The opposite is equals to 3. And the hypotenuse is equals to square root of 10. In the denominator, we didn't have a radical sign. We need to square root of 10. Is equals to 3 square root of 10 over 12. The next is the cosecant. Is equals to hypotenuse over opposite. The hypotenuse equals to square root of 10 over the opposite. The opposite. The next is the cosecant. Adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent is equals to 1 over the hypotenuse square root of 10. We didn't allow a radical sign, so we need to multiply square root of 10. Is equals to square root of 10 over 10. The second is equals to hypotenuse over adjacent. Adjacent is equals to hypotenuse equals square root of 10 over the adjacent is equals to 1 or simply square root of 10. The tangent. The tangent is equals to opposite over adjacent is equals to the opposite over the adjacent or simply 3. The cotangent is equals to the adjacent over opposite is equals to adjacent is equals to 1 over 3. And that's the 6th trigonometry. I have here the problem number 2. In the right triangle ABC, B is equals to 5, C is equals to 13, and A is not given. Now, we need to use the Pythagorean theorem to get the A. C squared is equals to A squared plus B squared. C squared, everything squared is equals to A squared plus 5 squared is equals to Y 69 is equals to A squared plus 25. Transpose 169 minus 25 is equals to A squared. 169 is equals to 144 is equals to A squared. A is equals to 12. Now, determine the 6 trigonometric function. The first one is the sine x equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Is equals to, our opposite is equals to 5 and the hypotenuse equals to 13. And the cosecant is equals to hypotenuse over opposite. Is equals to 13 over 5. The cosecant is equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent is equals to 12 and the hypotenuse equals to 13. The secant is equals to hypotenuse over adjacent. The hypotenuse equals to 13 and the adjacent is equals to 12. The tangent is equals to opposite over adjacent over adjacent. The opposite is equals to 5 and the adjacent is equals to 12. I'm sorry, 12. And the cosecant is equals to adjacent over opposite. The adjacent is equals to 12 and the opposite equals to 5. And that is the 6th trigonometric function. The next problem number 3. In the right triangle ABC, A, B, C. A is equals to 2. B is not given there. C is equals to 5. We need to use the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the B. C squared is equals to A squared plus B squared. C squared is equals to 5. A squared plus B squared. 25 is equals to 4 plus B squared. Transpose 25 minus 4 is equals to B squared. B squared is equals to 21 square root, cancel. B is equals to square root of 21. Determine the 6th trigonometric function. The first one is the sine x equals to opposite over hypotenuse. Okay. Is equals to square. The opposite is equals to square root of 21 and the hypotenuse equals to 5. Cosecant x equals to hypotenuse over opposite. The hypotenuse equals to 5 and the opposite is equals to square root of 21. We need to multiply it with square root of 21 because we are not allowing a radical sign in our denominator. So we have a 5 square root of 21 over 21. The next is cos x equals to adjacent over hypotenuse. The adjacent equals to 2 and our hypotenuse equals to 5. The second x equals to hypotenuse over adjacent. Our hypotenuse equals to 5 and our adjacent equals to 2. The tangent x equals to opposite over adjacent. Opposite over adjacent. Our opposite equals to square root of 21. Square root of 21 over our adjacent equals to 2. The cos x equals to adjacent over opposite. Our adjacent equals to 2 and our opposite equals to square root of 21. We are not allowing, so we need to multiply square root of 21 over square root of 21 is equals to 2 square root of 21 over 21. And that's a sixth trigonometric function. I hope you learned something about a right triangle